Greetings. Today, I would like to talk a little bit about MGTOW and ideology and knowledge, and finally, I'll address the sort of minor elephant in the room, the fact that I recommended the quote-unquote evil Alex State Psych. In any event, I want to start with this idea of MGTOW as an ideology, and this is something that I've always found very baffling. You see, I am most assuredly MGTOW in my lifestyle. I'm certainly not interested in marriage, and relationships really haven't worked out for me, so it just seems to be something that suits me pretty well, better than the alternative, of course, because I don't want to be married, and my experiences with relationships have been largely negative. But the point I want to drive home here is that there's not much more to MGTOW and anything concerning ideology beyond that. I don't spend every day and night thinking about it, breathing it, masturbating to it. It's just something that I thought about once. It seemed to make sense. And yes, you can say this channel is a MGTOW channel in as much as I am MGTOW, but it's not ideologically so. So, to my mind, if you choose to go your own way, that's it. You've made that decision, and everything else after that has relatively little to do with that decision. What interest you have, whether or not you choose to pursue those interests, what kind of food you like, what kind of video games you play. And the thing that drives home this point is that if MGTOW were an ideology, you would have a lot more overlap at the individual level between the people involved in it. And yet, politically, there are different types of MGTOWs. And more importantly, I think, in terms of the interest people pursue, there is a wide variety within the quote-unquote MGTOW community. So it's just as likely I could have a particular interest I might share with a married man as I would with a MGTOW guy, simply because these things are non-overlapping. Because the decision not to marry and to avoid relationships is not a decision that has consequences on anything else. And with that said, I think it's important to talk about what's important to me, since it is my channel, in general, and that is knowledge. I'm interested in knowledge and understanding. Knowledge and understanding is more important to me than MGTOW as a label or any ideological attachment it might have. So again, MGTOW is not something that I spend every day and night thinking about. It's just this decision I made in my life at some point in time. And then that was it. And I got on with my life. And I learned about the things that interest me, and I pursue the things that interest me. And I don't pay it much mind beyond that. But what I am interested in, as I said, is knowledge and understanding. And to some extent, data. Because data can improve knowledge and understanding. And so this is something that at times puts me at loggerheads with at least some of my subs. Some of my older subs who've been with me for a very long time, some who haven't, whatever. Some of them get the way I tick, the way I'm wired. I am interested in knowledge and understanding, and I'm not particularly ideological at the end of the day. But not everyone does. Part of this has to do with just what inevitably happens to every individual who runs a YouTube channel for any period of time. Your persona morphs into something that it might not be because people interpret it to be so. I might interpret myself to be a certain way that may or not be the way I'm coming off to some people. And so I will encounter people, in fact, indeed, I'm friends with people who are subscribed to me who know how I am, how I tick, how I think. At the same time, I will see comments in the comment section that tell me that these people have no idea how I think and how I am, which is fine. They see some kind of projection, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. And it makes perfect sense if you have a channel that at least partially is founded on quote-unquote MGTOW, that people would ideologically project their own feelings onto you in a way that doesn't really make much sense. Again, to me, MGTOW is not an ideology. It's something I do, sure, but I don't spend every day and night thinking about it. There are other things that I find greater pleasure in and more interest in pursuing than just thinking about how I'm not getting married and not bothering with relationships. Really, I can assure you. But that doesn't mean that you as a YouTuber and your persona will be interpreted correctly. Quite the opposite, because there is that label attached. And so that's all there is. People will think that you literally spend every day and night thinking about MGTOW women and men, and I just don't. I have a number of other interests that are actually of greater import to me. I don't talk about it on this channel because this channel doesn't really cover those topics, but that's okay. So, in light of this, in light of my position and the importance of knowledge, understanding, and data, because really at the end of the day for me, I don't want to spend a minute longer than I have to being wrong about anything if I don't have to be wrong. I want to exist in concert with, as best as I can at least, an appropriate and accurate understanding of the world. And so it's with this mentality and this attitude that I recommended Alex Datesike. Of course, there are people in the comment section claiming I've been hijacked, paid off by the guy. These are the people that don't understand my foundational nature and how I look at the world, which is fine. I don't expect them to. Alex Datesike, I have to admit, does have a very odd way of presenting himself. Half naked, in Hawaii 5-0 shirts, showing off his pecs. He's an attractive guy on top of that, no doubt. None of that vitiates the fact that he largely presents good data and interesting and compelling information. His channel was started as a reflection of his website. And if you're really interested, I don't think many people are, his website has a whole bunch of articles on it based on actual research, talking about all sorts of things. For example, why dual mating hypothesis researchers fail to replicate, what the manosphere gets wrong about alphas and betas, is physical attractiveness normally distributed, no, the sample size is not too small, the meme of promiscuity and pair bonding, and so on and so forth. Okay? The videos he puts out there are shorter snippets of that. And indeed, some of the longer videos, you will get a greater sense of the data he's presenting. I don't need to be interested in quote-unquote dating to have an interest in the data as he's presenting them, because I'm interested, one of my great interests in life, in human behavior. And human behavior entails human sexual behavior and mating and dating. It's a driving force behind civilization. And he's presenting good information about just these topics. So there's no reason not to endorse him. Quite the opposite. There's every reason to endorse him. Now, nobody's purely non-ideological. We all have some kind of ideology, I guess. And for all I know, Alex does too. And to be fair, he is a guy who's interested in dating, and I'm not. But I can tell you something, this proves my point. I've had one, albeit very lengthy conversation with him, and despite the non-overlapping interest in dating, we had tons of other interests in common. From general human psychology, philosophical discussions about the nature of free will, influence of genes, to dog breeds and pets, and just the general nature of being an expat. And he doesn't need to be MGTOW in order for me to enjoy a conversation with him, or for him to present good data. And that's exactly my point. I probably have more in common with him in terms of just general intellectual interests than I probably do with some guy who randomly calls himself MGTOW. That's just the way the world works. MGTOW is not this overarching ideology that defines your very being. It's just something you decide to do, and that's it. Now, maybe you don't care about data. Maybe you don't care about knowledge. Maybe you don't care about getting things right. Unironically, that's fine. I'm not saying this to patronize anybody. But don't pretend that I'm that way too, because I'm not. I want to understand the world as best as I can. And I will enlist the tools necessary to do so. And if it involves me befriending someone and talking to somebody who is quote-unquote not MGTOW and has a little bit of an odd presentation, so be it. I very much enjoyed my conversation with Alex. And on top of that, he has a very nice website with interesting data on it. And it's explained very well. And I fully plan on having him on at some point in time in the future for a longer one-on-one discussion. that you can listen to if you want, and if not, that's fine too. So, again, if you think all I am is MGTOW and I don't care about anything else, and I would be bamboozled by somebody's appearance, which admittedly is odd, it's not my style, because even if I were a good-looking guy, I probably wouldn't walk around in a Hawaii 5-0 shirt showing off my pecs. Whatever, that doesn't really get to me. And if it gets to you, well, that's really on you. There's not much I can do about that. Anyway, I really just want to drive home the point that I am primarily concerned with understanding the world. That is one of my great interests. And I think Alex is contributing his part in that, and that is why I endorse the channel, and I plan on having him on. And he is a very swell fellow indeed, based on my limited interaction with him. So, there you go. Anyway, as always, up to you whether you like this video or not, but if you do like it, leave a like, share, comment, subscribe, the usual YouTube jazz. And if I'm still alive, I'll check you out later. May the gods watch over you. Enjoy the weekend. Take care. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Thanks for watching.